Welcome back, listeners. Today we're going to do a deep dive into Punjab National Bank.
PNB.
Yeah, PNB for short.
Yeah.
You know, you all have sent us a pretty interesting mix of sources. Yeah, we've got annual reports, conference call transcripts, even some little snippets of their social responsibility work that they do.
It's a lot to cover.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And we are going to pull out the most important insights from all of this for you.
Absolutely. We want to give everybody a really clear understanding of how PNB operates, the challenges they're facing, and the opportunities they're going for in this, kind of crazy Indian banking world.
I know. And I'm already, finding some really cool stuff. Did you know that they've partnered with IIT Kanpur to create an innovation center?
I did.
It's so cool.
Forward thinking.
Yeah, so forward thinking.
Okay,
let's unpack all of this.
Sounds good.
Starting with their business model.
Yeah.
What are the foundation of this bank?
Well, at its core, PNB operates a lot like other banks, taking deposits, making loans, and managing investments.
Right.
But, one thing that's really interesting is their focus on retail banking, MSME loans, and the agriculture sector.
So they're really tapping into those key drivers of the Indian economy.
Exactly.
That's a smart move. And speaking of smart moves, their annual report talks about how they've got the second highest CASA deposits out of all the public sector banks.
They do.
So what's the significance of that?
Yeah, so a large CASA base means they have a really stable and low-cost source of funds, which they can then use for lending. This is great because it can translate into better interest rates for their borrowers, and it gives PNB a competitive edge.
It probably says a lot about customer trust, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's essential in banking.
Yeah. And, it looks like they're really putting those funds to good use. I mean, their MSME and agriculture loan portfolios are growing like crazy.
Yeah.
But they're also focusing on low-risk borrowers.
Yes.
So how do those two things work together?
Well, this is actually a key part of their approach to risk management. They're not just going after growth for the sake of growth. They really are trying to get that quality loan portfolio. And by focusing on low-risk borrowers, they're doing what they can to minimize defaults and improve their financial stability overall.
So it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Finding that sweet spot between growth and stability.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about the trends that are shaping the banking industry.
Okay.
It's no secret that digital transactions in India are just exploding.
Right.
Everybody's using UPI these days.
It seems like it.
How is PNB keeping up with this, whole digital revolution?
Well, they're not just keeping up. They're really leading the charge. I mean, you look at their annual report, it highlights this massive 123% surge in UPI transactions.
Whoa.
And their mobile banking app, PNB 1M, has now over 20 million users.
That's incredible.
It is. They are putting a lot into their digital infrastructure and really trying to make it as easy as possible for their customers to bank, wherever they are.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
And they're not stopping at, just the basics of digital banking.
No.
I mean, they even set up a data analytics center of excellence.
Yes.
This really stood out to me when I was going through the reports.
Yeah.
What's the strategy behind that?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Data analytics is becoming a total game changer in the banking industry.
Yeah.
And PNB is using it to really understand their customers' behaviors.
Okay.
To predict potential loan defaults and even personalize digital journeys for their users.
Wow.
It's really about using data to make smarter decisions and to create a more personalized experience.
I love that. So it sounds like PNB is really setting themselves up for success in the future.
Yeah.
They're embracing all this new technology, focusing on those key sectors that we talked about, and managing risk really, really well.
Yeah.
But what about the specific things that are contributing to their growth? What's really fueling this success story?
Well, a big factor is their focus on specific sectors.
Okay.
We've already touched on this. They have a strong presence in retail banking, MSME, and agriculture, areas with a ton of growth potential in India. And they're also expanding those digital lending initiatives, which opens up new markets and revenue streams.
So they're targeting the right markets.
Yeah.
Adopting the right technologies, it seems like. But they're also doing something else that's incredibly important, managing risk.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about how they're approaching that really crucial part of their business.
Okay, so they've got this comprehensive risk management framework.
What?
And it covers everything.
Okay.
From credit risk and operational risk to cybersecurity and interest rate risk.
Okay.
They're constantly analyzing data, they're doing risk assessments, and they're even running these scenario planning exercises to figure out and then mitigate potential threats.
That's really impressive. It sounds like they're not leaving anything to chance when it comes to risk management.
Pretty much.
But even with the best strategies, like we've already discussed, there are always those things outside their control that can affect the bank's performance.
True.
What are some of those key external risks that PNB really needs to watch out for?
Well, the banking industry is really influenced by government policies and regulations.
Okay.
So changes to those policies, like, if new lending norms come up or tax regulations change, that can have a big impact on PNB's operations.
So they need to be flexible and adapt.
Absolutely.
What else?
Well, the economy as a whole, right?
Of course.
So economic downturns, inflation, interest rates changing,
right?
All of that plays a role in how much demand there is for banking services, and it's going to influence their profitability.
Okay, so those are things that, they can't really control,
right?
But they just need to be prepared to navigate.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're thinking about?
Yeah, competition.
Oh, yeah.
The Indian banking sector is really competitive with all these public and private banks going after the same market share.
Yeah.
So PNB has to be constantly innovating and doing things differently to stand out and keep those customers.
They can't just sit back and relax.
No, definitely not.
It sounds like they have a good understanding of the risks and challenges they face.
They do.
But they also have a clear strategy for how to deal with them.
Yeah, that's what we're going to dive into next.
Perfect. We're going to explore PNB's future outlook and the potential impact of all these trends and challenges.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Be right back. Picking up where we left off, let's focus in on some of those specific things that PNB is doing that are really shaping their future.
Okay.
You mentioned digital lending earlier.
Yes.
That's a huge deal in banking right now.
Absolutely. I was so interested in their PNB eMudra program.
Yeah.
Loans up to 50,000 rupees, and it's all online.
It's pretty impressive.
It seems like it's just perfect for, those small entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
People who maybe don't have a bank branch nearby.
Right, exactly.
And it just makes things so much easier for them.
It does. It's great.
So what's really fascinating to me here is how PNB is using technology. Not just to, take what they're already doing and put it online.
Right.
But to actually reach brand new markets.
Exactly. It really aligns with their focus on financial inclusion.
Yes.
Especially in those rural areas where access to financial services can be, bit tricky.
Right. And it's not even just about access. It's about speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
Their report mentions, pre-approved personal loans.
Yeah.
For people who have salaries or pensions.
That's a big deal.
Think about it. You could get a loan approved in minutes.
Wow.
Just through an app.
That's crazy.
That's a whole new level of convenience.
Yeah, and it speaks to a larger trend that we're seeing everywhere in banking.
What's that?
Automation. By automating things, PNB can really cut down on costs, minimize errors, and really improve that customer experience.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, for everybody.
I like it. But, even with automation, risk management is still so important.
Absolutely.
And I noticed that PNB is working on implementing something called interest rate risk in banking book.
IRRBB.
IRRBB, yeah.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
So what is that exactly, and why is it so important?
Okay, so IRRBB is all about managing the risk that comes from changes in interest rates. Yeah. It's a bit complicated, but basically PNB is being proactive and making sure that what they call their banking book, which includes those loans and deposits, that it's that it can handle changes in interest rates.
So they're thinking ahead, looking for potential problems, and figuring out how to deal with them before they become a big issue.
Exactly. They're taking it seriously.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
But like we talked about before, some risks are just, they're out there, they can't control them.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are those big external factors that could really affect how TNB does in the future?
Well, any changes to government policies,
okay,
that can have a huge impact on the whole banking sector.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, if there are new regulations or, if the rules around priority sector lending change, that could change how PNB does their lending.
So they need to be ready to adapt.
Oh, yeah, big time. And then there's the whole economic environment, too.
Right.
Economic growth, inflation, interest rates.
Yeah.
Those are all big factors that can affect how many people need banking services.
And that affects PNB's bottom line.
Exactly.
It's like a big puzzle.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the competition.
Oh, right, the competition.
It's a tough market out there.
It is. So how's PNB making themselves stand out?
Well, they've got a great brand.
Okay.
People know them.
Uh-huh.
They've got a lot of branches, especially in those rural areas.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, they're putting a lot into technology.
Makes sense.
To improve the customer experience and make things run smoothly.
And they're focusing on specific sectors.
Yes.
Like MSME and agriculture.
Absolutely. They know those markets.
They do.
So, to sum it up, PNB's growth is being driven by a few key things.
Okay, let's hear it.
They've got a solid business model. They're zeroed in on those growth sectors. They're embracing digital transformation, and they're managing risk proactively.
It sounds like a winning formula.
It does. But, as we said, the world's always changing.
True.
And there are challenges out there. What could slow them down?
Yeah. What are some of those potential roadblocks?
One big one is cyber attacks.
Oh, of course.
The more digital PNB becomes,
Yeah.
the more vulnerable they are to these cyber threats. They need to really invest in cybersecurity.
To protect all that data.
Exactly. Protect the customer data.
Yeah.
And make sure their systems are running smoothly.
Right, right. So cybersecurity is crucial.
Absolutely. What other challenges are we thinking about?
Yeah, what else?
Well, the regulatory landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah.
New regulations are always popping up.
Right.
PNB needs to stay on top of it all.
To avoid those penalties.
Exactly. So regulatory agility is key.
Okay, makes sense. What about things within PNB? Are there any areas that need some attention?
One area that sometimes gets forgotten is talent management.
Ah, interesting.
They need to be able to attract, retain, and develop really great talent.
To stay ahead of the game.
Exactly. That means investing in training programs, creating a culture where people want to innovate.
Yeah.
And offering competitive salaries.
Makes sense. A bank's only as good as its people.
That's right. Anything else?
Yeah, is there anything else you're thinking about?
Sustainability.
Okay.
Banks are increasingly being held responsible for their impact on the environment and society.
Makes sense.
PNB needs to show that they're committed to sustainability.
Okay, how do they do that?
Through things like green financing, making sure their lending practices are responsible, and getting involved in the community.
It's about doing good while doing business.
Exactly. So we've talked about PNB's position now, how they're growing, how they manage risk, and the challenges they face.
Yes, we have.
But what does the future hold? What might happen? Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground. PNB's business model, the trends in the industry, how they're growing, what risks they're facing.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about what might happen in the future. What does the future hold for PNB?
That's the big question.
It is. And we don't have a crystal ball or anything.
Right.
But we can use what we know to make some guesses.
Exactly. Let's put on our future predicting hats.
Okay.
And see what we can come up with.
Sounds good.
We talked about that innovation center they set up with IIT Kanpur.
Yeah.
What if they come up with something completely new?
Ooh, like what?
Like a new financial product that's perfect for what people in India need. Something totally unique that no other bank has even thought of.
That's a real possibility. I mean, PNB really knows the Indian market, and IIT Kanpur has all that tech expertise.
It's a powerful combination.
It is. They could come up with something groundbreaking.
I know. Imagine a product that just, fits perfectly with how digital everything is becoming in India.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll use blockchain for super secure transactions.
Okay.
Or AI to help people with their own financial planning.
That's cool.
So many possibilities.
Right.
And we can't forget about, their focus on agriculture and MSME.
Of course not.
What if they create something that helps farmers get small loans easier?
Or
help small businesses figure out how to trade internationally?
Those are great ideas.
That would be huge for those sectors.
Absolutely.
It's really exciting to think about how PNB is doing both.
What do you mean?
Traditional banking and digital innovation.
Yeah.
They could create solutions that work for so many different people.
Yeah, they're really in a good spot. They've got the experience. They're not afraid of new tech.
They can bridge that gap between, the old ways and the new.
Exactly. So for everyone listening,
yes,
we've taken you on a journey through PNB.
Yeah.
You've learned about what they do well.
Their strengths.
Yes, their challenges.
Uh-huh.
And what they want for the future.
Right. We've given you the tools to understand their business model.
Yes.
What's happening in Indian banking.
Uh-huh.
And what's making PNB grow.
Absolutely. we've also looked at those risks, the things they can control and the things they can't.
Right. And we really want you all to think critically,
Yeah.
connect the dots, and ask those what-if questions.
Those are the best questions.
Because that's how you get to those aha moments.
I love those.
It's not just about learning stuff. It's about using what you learn to understand the big picture.
Yes.
And figure out what might happen next.
That's what makes this deep dive so interesting.
I think so, too.
It's about giving you the power to make good decisions.
Exactly. Whether you're thinking about investing, you're a customer, or you're just interested in what's going on with Indian banking.
It's for everyone.
So one last question for you all to think about.
Okay, I like it.
What if how well PNB does isn't just about, money?
Okay.
What if it's also about how they impact society?
Interesting.
What if their success is measured by how much they help people?
Like financial inclusion and sustainability.
Yes. And just making things better for their customers and communities.
That's a great point.
Something to think about as you keep exploring the world of finance.
Keep learning, everyone.
And keep on diving. We'll see you next time.